Poverty and riches, wealth and disparity, despondency, no hope, affluence, abundance. These are all aspects of consciousness, things that you can attain or lifestyles you can attain by simply changing your consciousness. What brought up this topic was I was reading this article about some of the rich people that went down on the Titanic. And I found it very interesting because so many people these days want to badmouth the rich and talk about how dangerous and manipulative the rich are. And granted, some of them are that way. But I'll guarantee you, it's much safer to live in an affluent neighborhood, a rich neighborhood, than it is an impoverished one. But let me read some of this article. I thought it was rather interesting. When the Titanic sank, it carried millionaire John Jacob Astor IV. The money in his bank account was enough to build 30 Titanics. However, faced with mortal danger, he chose what he deemed morally right and gave up his spot in a lifeboat to save 2 frightened children. I don't know about you guys, but when I hear about things like that, it makes me want to aspire to be greater, to have more character, to have more integrity, to be a man of inner strength and power, to be willing to give my life up for someone else. Millionaire Isidore Straus, co-owner of the largest American chain of department stores, Macy's, who was also on the Titanic, said, "I will never enter a lifeboat before other men." Think about that. His wife, Ida Straus, also refused to board the lifeboat, giving her spot to her newly appointed maid, Ellen Bird. She decided to spend her last moments of life with her husband. These wealthy individuals preferred to part with their wealth and even their lives rather than compromise their moral principles. Their choice in favor of moral values highlighted the brilliance of human civilization and human nature. Now, why aren't there more stories like that on the news? There are many people like that, rich and poor, I'm sure. You don't hear the stories about the poor because they're not that important. Just like not that important to the news. Just like you don't hear the stories about the rich doing wonderful things for people all over the world. But let one of them make a mistake or get caught drunken driving or something, or cheating on his wife, or she's cheating on her husband, and it's all over headline news all over the world. But many impoverished people do it every day, but it doesn't make the news. Now, I'm not glorifying wealth or glorifying the rich, or I'm not beating down or bad-mouthing people who are impoverished. I've lived with very impoverished people, and I've lived in not extremely wealthy neighborhoods, but wealthy considered, how would I say it, but extreme wealth if you consider it in respects to the whole world, but not USA. I grew up middle class, but having lived with both, in the impoverished neighborhoods with impoverished people, you have to be very careful. It's very dangerous. You have to lock everything up. You can't leave anything out at night. In contrast, in rich neighborhoods, you don't have to do that. So tell me, who has more character? The majority of rich people or the majority of poor people? I'm just asking you what you think. I know where the danger lies, but the dangers that happen in impoverished neighborhoods every day don't make headline news. But the ones that happen in the rich neighborhoods, the things that happen, they make the news. It's like they're always just waiting to make a person with wealth look bad, because they know that the majority of people envy the wealthy. So it's something to think about. Now, can you have character and integrity if you're poor? Yes, you can. Can you have it if you're rich? Yes, you can. But this idea that rich people are all crooked, and I grew up hearing that too, is ridiculous. Just like believing that all poor people are crooked. But where does the majority lie? I believe it lies in the impoverished neighborhoods because they're desperate. God wants us to live in the abundance that is here. There's an abundant supply for everyone, but yes, greed, and mostly greed from the wealthy, have caused us to live impoverished and people to starve and die. But it's because they happen to have the wealth. If the impoverished person had the wealth, he too may become greedy. It just, how would I say, exasperates? It magnifies. Money does not do anything but magnify what the person already is. If you're a giving, loving person, then money will make you a more giving, loving person. It will magnify what you already are. If you're greedy, selfish, envious, then that will magnify those character traits if you have more money. Money doesn't solve many problems, but so many people who don't have enough money think that money would solve their problems. There are so many problems you can't solve with money. I heard someone say once that if you have a problem that can be solved with money, it's not a problem. Easy to say if you have money. Hard to say if you're trying to figure out how to pay the rent or your mortgage and you're afraid of losing your house or having your electric cut off or your water cut off or your child is sick and you can't pay the hospital bill to get him or her the best treatment. But all these things and these situations and these points of view and these ideas are within each of us. If you want to live in abundance, you can do that. But first you must live in abundance within yourself, in your consciousness. And how do you change that? The same way that you acquired it, through time and repetition, through changing your beliefs, by opening your mind and looking at things differently. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at people, people change. It's like magic. Do we live in a hologram? I don't know. But I know that you can't control your outer environment, but when you control your inner environment, the outer environment will conform to what you are seeing, what you're feeling, what you are believing within yourself. Try it. But don't try it for a day or a week or a month, because it took you much longer than that to get to the state of consciousness you're in now. Continue to try it until you start to see your outer world change to match what you've been focusing on in your inner world. Think about that today and tomorrow and the next day. Always think about what you're thinking about. Take care. Hit that like button, subscribe, so we can have more videos coming out for you. I don't do this for money. I do it because I want to make your life better. And by doing that, guess what? My life gets better. That's the reward right there. If I can help you, or at least if I just have the intention of making your life better with what I've learned in my life, then my life becomes better. I don't know how that works, but I know it does. Take care.